Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, we are back for another one of our amazing book clubs. We're diving back in. We are going to be talking about the book you see right on your screen, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Miles and I have done the first, second, and third chapters. We are now going to be jumping into the fourth chapter today, so we can kind of dig into it and kind of see what we're learning and kind of see what we're pulling out of it. So, Miles, as always, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? And do you like long walks on the beach or short walks to 7-Elevens? What's your favorite?
Wow. I'm going to pick the 7-Eleven, but my name's Miles. I'm a loan officer here. Greg and I were past co-hosts of a radio show on real estate. And my burning desire and excitement is that I'm going to be going out to eat today at a restaurant. So I am stoked.
Where are you going?
Sauced. I'm going to our restaurant, actually.
You cheater! How dare you?
It's one of the few places that's open with outdoor seating. I think they put tables and stuff outside on the parking lot. So we're just going to...
Oh, in the back?
No, in the front.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I know they cut the bushes down in the back, the back patio. So I'm not sure what they were thinking about doing. I saw that the other day when I was at the bank. So... but I think that it's really interesting because I think that what they're doing is they're building a story brand, right? They're telling us, look, like this is exactly a great thing. So what took place is that we have our character, which is Sauced, right? We had a problem, which is COVID, and now they've met Miles, and he's going to be their guide, and he's giving them a plan to reopen, right? And then he makes them go into calls and into actions, and then ends up.
I need you to feed people. We're hungry for going out to eat.
Yes, so excited about that.
So, yeah, no, I'm super excited. This is gonna be the first time eating out since March, early March or something.
Well, you lucky dog. Good for you, buddy. You deserve it. You work your ass off. But
thank you.
Let's crush on this thing and really start going deep on chapter 4. So, Miles, do a quick recap for everyone on chapter 3. What we briefly covered there, so have some sort of context, and then let's jump directly into chapter 4. Chapter 4 is the character. So, anyways,
okay. So, chapter 3. If Greg, you want to bring up the other one? Basically, chapter 3 is talking about what the framework is for building a story brand. So it goes through each one of the elements. Do you have the other animation?
Oh, this one?
Yes. So this is literally the synopsis or the summary of chapter 3. It literally goes into what each one of these is, whether it's the character, which we're going to get more into detail now, has a problem, he meets a guide, everybody needs a guide, a mentor, whatever you want to call it, gives them a plan, put that plan in place, and then call to action, and then avoid failure, and then never assume. So that was just super 30,000 feet view, but each chapter we're going to go through from now, starting today, is going to go deeper into each one of those. So I'm excited.
I am too. So break it out for us, Ben. Just let's go. You tell what's going to chapter 4. What's the first thing you took away with chapter 4?
The first thing, well, as easy as it was to understand the character, and the character on the framework side of it is the customer is the hero, not the brand. So me, Yoda, the audience is Luke Skywalker. So making the person the hero of our story. So for me, just getting more out of how to grab their attention, how to make them kind of the hero in it. So when I'm speaking, it's not about what I want to tell them. It's how it can help them get to where they want to get, whatever their goal is, whatever their desires. And they go through I think it's 7 desires. How do we spew out our message with them in mind, getting to where they want to get? Was kind of, does that make sense?
Yeah. So we're speaking in what's in it for them language, not what's in it for us. As real estate agents, what we've done for as long as I can remember. And there was a big thing back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. Like, look how cool I am as the real estate agent. Look, I've done this amount of money. I've sold 1,000 homes last year. I did $100 million last year. Me, right? And people get really bored with that type of a conversation. Why is that? Well, the reason why they're bored about it is because they are their favorite topic to talk about. And when we go out to, like when you're going out to Sauce today, right? You're not going there because Sauce is like this coolest restaurant on earth. It's there because you are the star of the show. Like you want to go experience, the burnt ends and maybe a beer or iced tea or whatever you're going to drink. But you're there for what you want, right? You don't go there big. You know what? I'm going to give Sauce, this restaurant, money and my time, and I don't care what they give me back. No.
So true. I'm going for the experience. I think it's easy to get lost into hey, I do this amount of loans, I do this amount of transactions, the shit.
Mm-hmm.
You should use me. Here, just call me. It will be worth your time. It's like, now the client has a bigger role in it. The thing I liked about this chapter is it kind of went a little bit in depth on how to grab someone's attention, which I never really thought about.
Explain that to me. When are you talking about just different verbiage or mindset or what?
They went into something and they brought up the what's that movie, Jason Bourne?
Oh yeah.
The first one. I forget what it's called. Maybe it's just called
Born Identity. Yeah, Born Identities.
And they basically said a story gap. You have to have story gaps in your movie or product or message. And if we fail to open a story gap, the client's going to have, or the person we're selling to is going to have no motivation to engage us. What that means, or what I took out of it, was that the buyer, the client, we have to somehow keep them engaged. So when we talk about Jason Bourne in the movie, he has a problem. He's got amnesia. So we're wondering the entire movie, is he going to get back some of his memory?
Mm-hmm.
And then he runs into, and they start building out kind of that character framework that we went through before. But the story gap, we're kind of getting engaged to what the problem is at the beginning of the story. We have to, for me, I thought early on, we have to establish what the end goal is, or what the, what's it called? What the,
basically,
what the reason we're doing. What
right.
are we trying to sell, or what are they trying to get out of us, or how can we help them at the outset?
Right. So basically what you're saying, the story gap is a gap, right, between our hero and what they want. How are they going to get that? How's Jason Bourne going to get his memory back? Then he meets the female who helps him through that movie and some others. And it's like, and now he's starting to remember who he is. Fuck. Now we got to flee and get out of this country alive because these killers are coming for us. Another story gap opens up, right? And it's that consistency of, the opening of the gap, closing of the gap. And this is done in classical music, any type of music, any type of, corrective story that you hear, is that you can't be Jason Bourne, who's an assassin. Is in a weight loss program, and he also wants to study for his CPA class, and he's believed that he's going to write a card home to his mom to wish happy birthday. No, it's very clear, very concise. They don't drag you all over the place, but they keep the process going. Opening the gap, closing the gap, opening the gap, closing the gap. So that keeps you moving down that path. So they're always like, oh, what in the just happened? Holy shit, how are they going to get out of this, right?
I didn't realize there was more than one gap.
Yeah.
What they illuminated in the book was, like, in the movie, for instance, that there's constant gaps. They're opening one, and then they're closing it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times during a movie. And I never really thought about it that way, especially in sales. For me personally, I thought, okay, here's what I offer, and here is, here's what you need. Here's how I can get it for you. But constantly, I start to think about different gaps in the process of how we can, there's always going to be a problem. There's always a solution. We close that gap. We move on to the next one. First, in purchases, maybe it's an appraisal. Hey, we need to value the property. Okay, we have to order an appraisal. Here's the appraisal. And then we have to deal with that, whether it's in a value or not in a value. It's just I never really thought about it as consistently
think about
opening up new gaps or stories.
So let's take a buyer, or let's take a buyer, for instance, right? This is gonna be an easy one to explain. So the first gap, the story gap that's gonna take place in their story is, what can I get approved for? How can I get approved for enough money? We don't know. We have a problem. Now we have a solution. Great. Now you can buy $1 million home or $500,000 home. Let's go with 500,000. Now the next thing is, are we gonna be able to find a home that we want? Open the gap. Once they find the gap, close the gap. Next, open up, make an offer. Are we going to get the offer? We're not going to get the offer. What's going to happen? Story gap. Then we have the inspections. Then we got to make sure the dumbasses didn't go out and buy like a RV or a boat or lose their job or something stupid, so their ratios stay correct. So that's another gap. And then, you see how that progresses, open, close, open, close, open, close, but it moves you through the process. I've never, ever, ever talked to a single buyer, Miles, or seller that goes, this is such a boring, thing to go through. It's mainly like, oh my God, I'm going to pull my freaking hair out right now because it's so freaking stressful, right?
Yeah, it's so dramatic. And I once I read that, it kind of started to click a little bit more for me. How many gaps we see during a process, whether it's mortgage or just me trying to create a new company, and how do I fill those gaps?
Right, but we have to. What we really have to be careful of is not confusing the hero, right? There can't be too many gaps, or we've got to narrow them down, keep them focused on one gap at a time, so that we see that progression of problem, solution, problem, solution, problem, solution. If we try to throw everything at them, people would lose their marbles and they wouldn't do this. They wouldn't do the transactions because there's so much coming at them. I know this is silly, but when I bought my last car, my Jeep, I don't know the last time you guys bought a vehicle, but those contracts are fucking long. They're like 6-7 feet long. You guys all can attest to that. And it makes me very nervous to buy a car, even though it's very simple. Why? I don't do it every day, right? And they just throw these huge contracts at you and all this other jargon and everything else. You're like, oh, what the fuck is going on? It's too much. I don't get it. And I think that that's where we come in as professionals, is identifying those, seeing if people are stressing out. Like I just listed a property today in Alamo on a court called Likely Court, actually a really nice house for just about $1.8 million. And a story gap that opened up for us on that one in real time was that there's a tenant in there and he has a pregnant wife with a 1-year-old and we have COVID outside, right? So how are we going to get the home sold? How are we going to get people in? How are we going to make this, work, as I'm the guide to the hero who is the seller, who has, I have a second hero who is my renter to keep him and his family happy. How are we going to walk them through it? Right. But your mind just starts opening up to all of these different situations that all of a sudden you see are all around you at all times. You just didn't really know it. Right. Yep.
I think you're right. Paring it down to a single focus at a time makes it so much easier. For me right now, on the escrows that I have, one of them that I always try to get over is the first one that you guys deal with is inspections. The first one, the biggest one for us initially, is appraisal, because usually there's contingencies and that's going to be the first hurdle. So for me, it's about doing everything as quick to get that. Once that hurdle is crossed, all the attention at that point turns to the loan. So it's like, for you guys, the attention's all about the inspections at first, and then all the attention's on the appraisal, and then all the attention's on the loan, and then, hey, when are we closing? So it is a constant step for us when we're actually in a transaction. So I thought that was interesting.
And I think that we have to remember to be extraordinarily clear. We can't be vague when we're talking to our clients and walking them through this process. But you have to understand that people are going to pay attention to things that, speak directly to their survival, right? How are you going to help them get this house? How are you going to help them sell this house? How are you going to do this thing they have a lot of money, energy, and time invested into this thing, and emotions? How are we going to survive this process? And I think that, with the loans and everything else, Miles, you do a great job with the buyers that you work with. For me, is, you keep everybody very educated, very, in tuned, very, in the loop, and people feel comfortable and safe with you. That speaks to their survival of getting the property, right?
Yes. I think when they talked about survival, the stress was upon, why would someone buy with us? Why would someone use us? How is our product going to benefit them? And it really benefits them to the primitive level of survival. And survival can mean a whole hell of a lot of different things, whether it's economic, whether it's social resources like to drink, eat, reproduce, fending off those, like to survival. And more people are likely to buy or engage with us if there is an inherent reason for them to on a primitive level. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I saw in here that I was like, oh, okay. How do we get someone to actually have that belief? Because now I'm even thinking about the topic switching from in contract to the story, building a story brand. How do I get someone to engage in us based off of that criteria? For us, it's a little bit easier, I think, because people need to live somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, they don't need to buy the gum in the Safeway checkout line. They don't need the brand new iPhone, even though everybody wants it. And it's fucking awesome because the camera's amazing. But I mean, it's not a survival thing. I mean, that's my only line of communication. So for me, it was a survival thing because I couldn't communicate or do my business if I didn't have this new phone. Not because it's new, it's because my other one just didn't work anymore. I ran out of batteries. So my survival was, threatened. And so I was driven to go buy a $1,200 fucking phone. Jesus, these things are going to cost the same as houses at some point. It's unbelievable.
I'm working on a video right now about rental income. And there's this whole thing about passive income out there. And passive income is important because if you work a 9 to 5 and you lose your job, or a pandemic hits and you can no longer work, you need some income coming in, or it's a good safety net. So for me, I think I'm going to try to push. I think I'm going to try to push more passive income. And my passive income is going to be through real estate, because I think real estate is such a good opportunity in investing. And so for people's survival, how do they make more money as a blanket to what they do for their day job? Yeah. And for me, I'm really going to try to push, hey, this is an important thing. This is how I do it. This is how a lot of people do it. This is how we make tons of money. This is how we grow, where eventually you can choose and have freedom for yourself and your family to choose whatever the hell you want to do in life. And I think real estate can do that. Yeah. So that's kind of, when I read that, I was kind of thinking of, okay, I'm going to push my narrative. And I think it is passive income. How do you survive? How do you grow as a human and financial freedom?
I think a lot of people don't take an action in anything in life if they're not 100% sure they're going to succeed, or 1,000% they're sure this is going to be a safe investment. Look, man, walking your doggy across the street, you can get hit by a fucking bus. So there's no certainty. You're not guaranteed anything. You're not guaranteed tomorrow. Okay, you're not guaranteed to the end of the damn day. So I mean, I think that's why we're hyper focused around survival. I mean, they call it the alligator part of your brain, the primordial part of your brain, that your RAS, which is your filter system, right? And when you're out in nature, and we used to have saber-toothed tigers walking around the woods with us, we wanted to make sure we weren't going to be eaten by saber-toothed tigers, so we kept and preserved a lot of our internal and external energy, because we didn't know if we're going to take off all of a sudden and run from this saber-tooth. Now, of course, we don't have those anymore. They're called jaguars now, and they're on the freeway, and they're deadly. Those damn cats. Bad joke, but the point is that when we, and this is something I want to get clear, is that when we talk about survival, we're not talking about physical fear of their bodies being harmed. Some of them are in different situations that could be a case, but we're talking about survival, and mentally and physically and emotionally and online and everything else. So when you're talking to people about stuff, that's why I said earlier in this broadcast, you have to be, crystal clear on what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, how it's going to benefit them to get their biggest, issue taken care of. And once you kind of convey that information and you don't confuse them, their brain won't shut down when you're talking to them. And they'll be, oh, okay, that's what Miles does. Okay, cool. No problem. I see what he's doing. And they move on. He didn't if you had to get someone on a treadmill and turn it up to 10 every time you explain to them exactly what you did, how many times do you think people are going to sit around and listen to you? Because exactly what you're doing to these people's brains.
That's so funny. There's a guy on Instagram, and he consistently posts workouts all day of him working out. Like, he's just got it running, and I look at his workouts and I'm like, those are really good and different workouts. I would never think about doing that, but doesn't. I don't know if he's trying to sell it or he's just putting it on there because you can't sit there and watch it all day. But I feel like if he worded it or framed it differently or put it in a different light, more people would pay attention rather than just constantly seeing these videos and then doing an hour and a half of workouts. So I think definitely framing things different than pushing it.
That's me running.
Wow, I don't think you're that bad, but
inside my head, I sometimes feel that way. I think a couple more points, and then we'll let everyone get on with their days. And one of the things that I would really strongly recommend is I would strongly recommend you guys sitting down and brainstorming your customers' potential desires. Really get in their brain and figure out exactly what they're looking for, where they're looking for it, in the whole nine. My friend Bernice Ross and I are just finalizing a phenomenal training that's going to be available for sale. And I got a coupon for everybody to knock $100 off. So instead of $400, it's going to be $300. It's awesome. It's taken us months to build this thing, but it's phenomenal stuff. And she goes through in our training and she does exactly that. She interviews both buyers and sellers in the program. That's what you guys can go do as well. And you make it very clear on what's in it for them. Then you identify what your value add to them. Why should they work with Miles and Greg? What is the good about us versus Bob from Remax down the road? How are we going to help you survive this transaction more effectively and efficiently than Bob and Stacy from Remax and whatever broker company, mortgage company out there? You've got to start thinking in these contexts and take yourself out of it and go, what's in it for this person? I just helped my girlfriend move, and there's so many stories involved with that process, because I don't buy and sell every day. I mean, I do for business, but I don't physically do it, right? And it's a totally different, fascinating experience to go through again, because you get to see all the stuff that we don't ever see. Just on the business side, like the emotional freakouts and breakdowns. My girlfriend got upset because her house wasn't a hot house like the first 2 days on the market. I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
She's like, I want it to be a hot house. I'm like, well, you're a hottie who lives in the house. Does that count?
You want to pay more because it's a hot house?
Well, no, she wants everyone to pay her more, right? And so I got to see all these things. I see. And it's about her, because that's a survival thing for her. Now, she equated hot house with more money, which ultimately it did happen, right? But that's a survival thing for us. I don't give a fuck if it's a hot house or not. Like, who cares? Well, to her, it was a big deal, but that's an example of making it very simple. Okay. And if I had listed the home, which I actually actively turned down, which I'm glad I did. Thank God. I want to keep the relationship, not the house, not the commission. But it was just, I would encourage you guys all to go back and look and think and see with your last client, your current client, start asking them questions, go read this book. I'll post a link right here. Kind of goes through each chapter, and you guys can come along with us on this and be able to, have some fun chatting with us. I forgot all these comments. Ryan, what up? Jessica, Guy, Keith, Jason. Nice guys. Robert. I'm such a bad person, Miles. I didn't even check my Facebook page.
You know what? I didn't even see that there was live comments on there.
So you're just as bad as me then. Okay, good. No, I don't feel so freaking bad anymore. But let me get over here to Facebook. And Miles, if you're on it, if you want to start reading some of the questions, we'll answer them for folks as they come in. Here's a link. Let's do this. Reload.
Somebody said, where did you get my picture? I'm assuming he was referring to the workout picture.
I'm assuming so. I guess so. That's pretty humorous. And kudos to you on the good humor on that. Here's a link to the read along if you guys are interested. Robert. And then I'll post this here for you guys on YouTube. Paste. And this is a read along kind of synopsis of the book itself. So let's see here. I need some video ideas. Well, Robert, why don't you come on, man? Let's talk about video ideas. I mean, Miles, so you're going to go over in your video. What are you going to talk about? Just passive income and investments or what?
I'm going to be putting up a video tomorrow. If you guys are interested in watching it, it's going to be about the 4 wealth generators of real estate. If you guys don't know, or something you guys want to tell your clients, if there's realtors on here, there's 4 main ways you make money off real estate. You make money off of appreciation, obviously. In California, at least, we see a lot of that. I'm not the biggest fan because I think it's a little speculative, but for the most part, it's gone up for the last 40 years. The other ones are tax deductions, which are huge. That is more of a complex detail or item to go through, and I'm going to have a short segment on that. The other one's principal pay down. So obviously we all know if you buy it with a loan, they're paying down your mortgage. That's giving you more wealth overall, especially in the long run. And last but not least, which is my favorite, is cash flow. You should be cash flowing on your property. That'll give you actual money each month in your pocket. Not something you necessarily will see 30 years from now. It's something you're feeling every single month. So those 4 wealth generators can absolutely help you get a ton of wealth in the long run. It's not a quick man's game, but slow and steady.
Well, it's like anything. It's like anything in life. Anything that's worthwhile is going to take time. I mean, there's been some things that I'm building right now that it has been, holy shit, it has taken friggin' forever. And then the pandemic decides to take a giant steaming shit on my chest in regards to kind of where I was going to be heading. Like I had stuff to travel to Australia to do a huge tour, recruiting for EXP, got that canceled. I had a couple of other big, trips planned this year, all got canceled. I'm like, okay, well, gosh damn it, that sucks. But you know what? I go back to like my story. Like, okay, so there's obviously something out there. There's a reason why this is taking place. So I'm not going to, shit on it. I just don't really like it all the time. It's like when you lose a relationship or gain a relationship that you're not certain of, or you have a client that you don't want to have to rework again, but they're coming back. And you're like, but it all comes down to your survival. Why are you going to work with a shithead client? Money. Why are you going to stay in a toxic relationship? Because it's what you know is safe. Right, your survival is tied to that, right, mentally, so it's, I don't know. I think the book's got a lot of stuff. I think it's a must read for all real estate agents, all people in business, especially entrepreneurs, so that you can clearly identify what your distinguishing value prop is. Then you can take that and then talk to your clients and show them why they're the story, you're the guide, and how you're going to help their dreams come true.
I actually wish I'd read this a long time ago. I think you're right that anyone who's got a business, especially a real estate agent, mortgage, there's so much creativity allowed for our industry where we can decide what we do for marketing, for advertising, for our message, for open house flyers, what we want to give out, that I wish I had this earlier, because when I first started out, your company, as you guys know, they just give you a bunch of stuff. Oh, here's our marketing platform. Here's the stuff you can do for advertising. Here's this. Here's some cards. Go find business. Like, okay. You need something like this, a structure, in order to help brand yourself and figure out what's going to work for you. I wish I had something like this earlier, but we haven't finished the book. I did want to talk about the next chapter, at least what we're going to talk about next week.
Sure. Let's go. What are we going to talk about?
I think next week is, so the first one we went through is character. And the second one is going to be, next week is going to be has a problem. So I think we're going to go into what the customer's problems are, how we come into play, is what I imagine that chapter is going to be about.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what the problems are, how to identify them, and then probably what to do with them. But again, we haven't read the chapter yet, so I don't know. But I read this book years ago, and it's just bringing up so many good talking points that I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Enjoy it. Yeah,
I think we'll find out ways on how to make sure that we're there as a stopgap for their needs. I really do.
All right. Well, guys, there it is. Miles, one more time so people know where they can get a hold of you.
You can reach me if you need to email me at miles@smileynest.com, or my information's right there below. And
perfect. All right, guys, go ahead and go to the email, or give Miles a text or a call on that number. As you guys know, you can always reach me on here or anywhere else. But this is the book we're discussing, Building a Story Brand with Donald Miller. And I appreciate you guys watching. Yeah, till next week, guys. Boom, peace. We love you. Bye.
Bye.